Hi guys, you're welcome to class. My name is Zulu Ashim, and today we are doing this beautiful style on the screen here. And if you know me, you know I love beautiful prints. Like sometimes I'm always proud of myself. I'm like, wow, I know beautiful prints when I see one. And yeah. Can you see this? Can you see this? Can you see this beautiful print I got for myself? I'm going to be making this for myself and my mom because we have an O&B to attend this Saturday. So guys, I have this print. It's just 6 yards and I have to manage it because I'm doing for myself and for my mom. And here is what I need this fabric here. I have this right here. Okay, I have my lining here. Somehow I feel the need to, you know, do a kind of loophole for the back. I think I just feel like doing that. I just got linings of different colors, and you know, then I have my wording and I have my zipper. I've not decided which one I'm going to be using. I have white, I have blue, blue or blue, I don't know. Then guys, I have this net here. You can see this is what I have here. So guys, here are the measurements I need. Okay, my back measurement is 15, my bust measurement is 36, my waist measurement is 28, my hip measurement is 40, the full length is 60, and the half length is 17 inches. So guys, I'm going to be cutting the down part first, and for the upper part I'm going to be using a pattern paper. So guys, let's move to the cutting table. So guys, the first thing I want to do is I want to cut out the, you know, the one in the front, you know, that looks like a wrapper. I don't know what to call it now. I know what to call it, but it's just not forming in my head at the moment. So I'm not just going to be measuring it, I'm just going to be eyeballing it, and you do whatever you know, feel like you want, whatever you deem fit, like you feel is enough for you. And I think I'm okay with what I have here at this point. So I can just decide to measure to see what I have there. You know, you're just going to pleat it onto the upper part and the front part of the gown. So I'm just going to measure what I have here. What I have here is 14 inches. Since I have it on fold, that means what I have is 28 inches. I'm just going to cut this out. So I'm keeping this first so we can fold for the skirt. So for my skirt, my hip measurement is 40 inches. My hip measurement is 40 inches. So I'm going to cut for the front first. You know, let's just make it very simple for ourselves. So let me fold for the front. I hope you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to be using 60 minus 17 is 43 inches. So my down part is 43 inches, half inch for joining at the waist area. That's 43.5, and I'm going to be using 1.5 to fold at the down part. So I'm using the whole 45 inches. You know, that's the length of an Ankara print. So now I'm cutting the front first, and to cut that, my hip divided by 4 is 10. I'm going to add 2 inches sewing allowance to it. So you necessarily don't have to do 2 inches, you can do 1.5, but in my case I have decided I'm just going to use 2 inches for this. So I have that here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, you know, I want you to see what I'm doing. I really need you to see what I'm doing. So this upper part here, I'm going to mark my waist measurement, and that is 7 inches. Then I'm going to add 1 inch for that, and that is going, no, I'm not going to be putting that. I've decided I would not be putting that in my skirts. I don't know why, but for now I'm not putting that. So I'm just going to use 7 inches plus 2 inches. There is no need for that actually. Remember, we are covering it up with like a kind of wrapper, so there is no need for that. So 7, that is 9 inches there. Then I'll come down to get my hip line. Then I'm going to mark my hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance, and I have that here. Then I'm going to come down to my knee area, and I'm going to go up 2 inches above my knee, which is here. And whatever I have here as my knee, as my hip measurement, I'm going to deduct 1 inch from it. That gives me 11. I'm going to be deducting 1.5 inches, guys. And whatever I have here, I'm also going to put it on the down part, and that is 10.5. So I'm also marking my 10.5 here. Then I'm going to make this into a straight line. I want to believe a lot of us know how to draft a pencil skirt, but let's just go ahead with it. And here you just mark your curve this way. Then from here you come to your hip this way, and that is everything. I hope you can see my marking. Okay guys, so let's go cut this out. So guys, we have cut the front part. We are going to be using the front part to cut for the back. So we are going to refold, and this time we are inputting our zipper allowance. You're adding your zipper allowance to whatever you're folding, and in this case I'm using just 1 inch for my zipper allowance. So we're going this way. So we're cutting out the exact same thing. There's a zipper allowance here. So I'm going to open up the zipper space. So guys, we are done with the skirt part. I've marked, all the basic marks. Here's my shoulder line, the armhole line, the bust line, under bust, waistline, and the joining allowance. Now guys, this is the time to pay attention. So now for this, I'm going to decide what I want my neck to look like, and here I'm going to be using 3¼ inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth I'm going to be using 4 inches. I don't want it too low. Okay, let me do it 4.5 inches, and I'll connect it this way. The next thing you want to do, you want to decide where you want the net to start from. You just want to eyeball. In my case, rather, I'm going to be eyeballing like 3 or 3.5 inches above my bust points, because I don't want to be revealing anything. So let's say 3.5 inches above my bust line. I have that here. You're just going to create something like your yoke. Remember, that is where your yoke will be. Just create this line, and the reason we are creating this line is because we want to input our darts. So now we're going to leave this way. Next thing you want to do is get your mid nipple to nipple measurements. In my case is 7 inches. When I divide by 2, it's 3.5, and I'm going to add my sewing allowance. I have 4 inches here. Mark that same 4 inches on your under bust line and mark it on your waist line. Make it into a straight line this way. So on this line here, whatever you have here, add 1 inch to it. Remember, we have 4 inches here, so when I add 1 inch to it, that is going to be 5. I'm going to mark my 5 inches here, and I'm going to connect it this way. Now it's time to input our darts. I'm going to be doing 1 inch on both sides here, 1 inch here, 1 inch here. On my under bust, I'm going to be doing 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches there, 1.5 inches there. On the waistline, I'm doing 1 inch this way, this way. Then I'm going to connect all of this, you know, just a little before the bust line. You go this way, and also you go this way. Then you can just use this curve ruler to mark for this. No, and also mark for this side. Then make this into a straight line. So next thing you want to do, guys, we are returning all of this, whatever we took from here, we are returning it back here. Do not forget. So we have 1 inch here, 1 inch here, that is 2 inches, half inch to join back, that is 3 inches. So we are adding, you remember this is where our armhole is, this line is where we are adding to. So from here, just put your 3 inches, you get. And this is our armhole curve ready here, you see. So now by the time we cut through here, this is going to be a new armhole, because we are going to be cutting this part separately, and we are cutting this part separately, and we need these allowances we had back here. So this is going to be another armhole, you know. So by the time you sew this, it will move back, shift back to join this friction we already caused, we already created. So the next thing now is to take our body measurement. So my bust measurement, I'm going to be inputting it here on the chest line, and my bust measurement is 9 inches, you know, plus 2 inches, that is 1.5 inch here, and half inch to join on both sides, that is under 1 inch, so that is 2.5 inches plus 2 inches, or 1.5 inches sewing allowance. And yes, that is all of that this way. The waist measurement is 28 divided by 4 is 7 inches, 2 inches for the dart, half inch to join it back, that is an additional 3 inches, then 1.5 inches sewing allowance. Then you make this into a straight line. This way. So now the next thing we want to do, guys, is to create the parts where we want the, the net to be. So you just create something like this. You know, you come this way. This point you can just eyeball, because at this point I want to use just 1 inch opening for the net, which means since I have it on fold, it's going to be 1/2 inch. Around my bust point, like the nipple area, I don't want it to be too open, so I'm just going to be, it's going to be like 2 inches open. On fold I have 1 inch, so you can just use that to create what you want this way. I hope you can see it. Just go this way and use that. Okay, just going to continue with this. Just go like this, and that is about everything. So then all of this part is going to be net, like this part is going to be net. This is your yoke. Everything down to this part is going to be your neck, and all of this place is going to be your Ankara. So I'm going to start cutting it now. So first thing, I would like to cut out the yoke part first. Remember, this is 1 armhole. Then we go this way. So this is the neck area, the net area rather. You just need to be careful. You know. So you cut the armhole. Do not forget the shoulder curve, the 1 inch shoulder curve this way. Then you cut for the neck. You cut out the neck. So this part, guys, is going to be where the neck is going to be. I hope you can see. This is going to be your net, but let's set this aside. And now we can cut out the darts. So for the dart, you go this way. Cut this out too. We don't need this dart, so we're cutting this away. So guys, now we don't want to make a mistake, so let's just, this is fabric, this is fabric. We need 2 of these, 1 here, 1 here. We also need 2 of these for the center, so you can just throw this away. So this is what we need. Here is everything we need, and now we are going to be cutting that out. So first thing first, we are cutting the Ankara part. Remember, we need this in 2. And one other thing you should remember to put into consideration is this. I'm going to tell you now. Let me arrange this. I don't want to waste this fabric at all. Okay, so guys, at this part here, you need 1/2 inch joining allowance. You need 1/2 inch joining allowance. You know, you cut it out from the yoke and you need to take it back to the yoke. So you're going to add 1/2 inch joining allowance here, and also you're adding 1/2 inch allowance here to join to the net also. So let's go ahead and do that. So you set this aside. We also need 2 of this. Also add 1/2 inch joining allowance all around this. All around it, you need 1/2 inch joining allowance, you know, to add to the net, and also to, you know, to this other side. You're joining back to this side, you're also joining to the net here. So half inch all around. So we are setting this aside too, and now we are cutting for the net. So here's what we have, guys. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to cut lining for this, and this, exactly in this manner. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut my wording for, you know, you're going to cut your wording. You don't want it to get to this point, so that you don't, so it's not bulky when you're sewing. You know, just leave about 3/4 inch on these sides. Cut your wording, cut the wording for this side, do the same thing here, and let me just cut the lining and I'll show you what next to do. But before then, let's just cut for the back and the sleeve, then we'll move to sewing. You're just going to fold your bust measurement divided by 4 is what you're folding with your sewing allowance, no zipper allowance. In my case, my bust measurement divided by 4 is 9 plus 1.5 inches sewing allowance, that is 10.5. so I need to fold on 10.5. Half length is 18 inches, 17 inches, sorry. Half inch to join at the upper part and half inch to join at the down part. So I'm just going to create that first, so I can cut out exactly what we need, so we can have something to work with. So half inch starting line here is also my shoulder line, and half inch joining allowance at the down part here. This is the center back, so I'm going to mark my back measurement divided by 2, 7.5, which is there. My armhole, which is there. You just know what you're doing, just go ahead and mark all that is needed to be marked. The bust measurement is 9. You know, after division plus your 1.5 inches sewing allowance, that is 10.5. You create your armhole. The waist measurement is 7 plus 1.5 inches sewing allowance, that is 8.5. Connect that here. The neck width is 3.25. I think that was what we did, 3.25. And for this, I want the neck to, you know, go as low as 6 inches. So I'm just going to mark it this way. My arm, the shoulder slants this way. Then we'll just go ahead and cut. And cut out the neck. Then shoulder slants. Now for the loophole, I'm just going to do, I don't want it to be too open. So I'm just going to do 2 inches wide, so that when it's opened, it's going to be 4 inches. 2 inches is fine. So just mark your 2 inches this way. Cut it open. So for the back, here is what we have. Here's what we have for the back. Our loophole is going to go this way, and we're also going to cut lining for this. And after the lining, we are going to create a cover. If you want yours covered, you're going to create a cover, and I'm going to be covering mine. And now let's just cut the sleeve before we move into explaining the sewing part. Okay guys, now we are done with cutting. Like, I've cut the lining for the skirt. This is the front, this is the back. And for this, okay, let me just set this aside. I'm going to set this aside now. So I thought I was going to do loopholes for the back, so I just, you know, cut out a strip, something like this, and I cut it into bits about 2 inches each. Here is what I have. I have about 20 something here, but I'm not sure I'm going to use everything. So I have this is what I'm going to use in tying the, you know, for my crisscross at the back. So I'm just going to put all of these aside too at the moment, and let's focus on the sewing. To start with, here is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to, you know, tidy up the neck with a bias strip, you know, just to finish the neckline for the front. And I've cut the lining for all of these. I told you we were going to cut lining for all of these. And after doing that, here's what we have. So I've cut the wording too. So first thing first, now we are going to join each lining this way, you know, join it together. Also join these together. Then you take these two pieces, these two side pieces, you join them together, and you do the same thing for this. So I'm going to go to the machine to join this together, join this together, join the lining in the same way. Then I'll show you the next step. So guys, the next thing I want to do now, I've tidied up the neck with a bias strip. So right side facing me, my net is facing me now. We have this. I've joined it together. Here's what I have on the inside. So the next thing now is to fix this to this, and at the same time we want to attach the lining. So here's what you want to do. This lining, right side facing right side, just set it this way, and these two. At this point you need your pin. You want to sew this to this, and what we left was half of an inch joining allowance. So you want to flip it this way and you pin round up to this point. Then you take your lining too, you set it underneath, which means your net is in between the fabric and the lining. So you pin all of this together this way, you pin it all around this way, and you sew to the end. And you also do the same thing, when you're done with one side. So let me just go ahead to do that. And when you're done sewing that, you also sew by the sides, then you turn it out and you do the same thing for the other side. So I've joined everything. Here is it. Here is what we have, and here is how it looks like on the inside. You can see the neat finishing on the inside. I've closed up the sides. The next thing you want to do now, guys, the next thing you want to do is you're going to take your front piece. I've already joined the lining for the front piece. Remember I told you I was not going to be putting any dart, so you're just going to join at the waist. So after doing this, we are going to move to the back part. So I just want us to get done with this, then we move to the back. So guys, here is how the front looks like. Here is it. You can see this is not too wide. So here is it. Don't forget, we are not done with the front part. Remember, we cut out some inches that we're going to be pleating on it. So I'm just going to set this front side aside, and that's because the pleats will come when I'm about to join the back to the front. So now it's time to work on the back. And to start with that, remember I have this. I'm going to be using this to cover up for the back. I told you I want to cover up. I don't want to just leave it open. So now I'm going to get my chalk. So I have my chalk with me. So here is the back pieces for the upper part. So this is the skirt part. So here's what we're going to do. For these back pieces, before we join the lining to the fabric, we're starting with the neck, then the sides, the zipper part. Remember, we don't have a zipper space. I just have to call it the zipper side so you can understand. Then we are closing up the sides, and here is what we are going to do. First thing first, I'm going to get my tape measure and mark out where I want my loopholes to be, and I want it to be about 1 inch apart, starting from the beginning this way. I'm going to count the number of markings I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 on each side. So we need 22 of these. So I'm just going to count out 22. So before we fix the lining, you're just going to pin all of these down. This time you're making it face your fabric. It's lying on your fabric. So you're just going to pin it down. Just get your pin it down, pin the sides all to the down part, and you also do that for the second one. So here's what you're just going to do. I'm going to go ahead and sew my lining on top of, starting from the neckline. You sew the neckline first and you notch and top stitch. you do the same thing for this other one. Before you start inserting this, you sandwich it between the fabric and the lining, and you turn the sides, you sew the sides and turn it out. Then I'll show you the next step. So I decided to change the inner cover to black. I thought black looks cooler. So the next thing we're going to do now is to attach the down part to the upper part, and to do that, here is what we are going to be doing. That's what we're going to be doing, because we need to knit in this part, we need to close it up. You don't want your sewing to show from the inner part. So to do that, you're going to take one side this way. Remember your zipper allowance. You're still going to add your zipper at this part for the skirt part. So you're just going to sew on here, then you're turning your lining from the back. That's like you sandwiching the top into the skirt. So you lay it this way. Don't sew on this inner, you don't need to sew on this inner, just lay it this way. Then you sew on it, you join the sides, you join this other side, just put this inside, join these other sides, and you do the same thing for this other part here. Then you fix your zipper on the skirt. So guys, I've done the back. I've fixed the zipper from this side up to along the hip line, and here is the back. Here is how it looks like. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to iron all the sides to flatten it out, after which I'm going to take the front. I'm going to set this aside. Then I'm going to join by the shoulders. You join the shoulders first, then you take remember the one we took, then you're going to sew in about like 1 inch at this part and also at the down part, just to knit in the edges. Then if you like, you can gather it, you can just gather, and if you like, you can pleat. And because I want it to fall to the right, so here is the left side. After gathering, you just pin it whichever way. I want mine to get to the hip line, somewhere around there. From the waistline, I want to spread it out to the hip line this way. Then you pin it down. After pinning down, you're going to pin this side too, but for this side, I don't want it to get to the hip line. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. This side here, I'm going to place from my waistline to the hip line, but for this side here, I don't want it to get to the hip line, so it's just going to be about 2 inches before the hip line. Then it will fall this way. You're going to leave your sewing allowance here, you don't pin to that point, after which you're going to place this on it this way. Then you sew using your sewing allowance. Then you take this one in, you don't want to sew on it, just take it in this way. Then you sew down, and when you turn it out, your gown is almost ready, and the remaining thing is going to be the sleeve. So guys, at this point, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button to join the family. I would really appreciate that. So guys, let's check this out, let's see what it turns out to be.